Alright, Gadgeteers, welcome back. Well, I am outside. I decided to take my puppy dogs for a walk. I got Pixie in her little warm outfit and Meadow. And we're just gonna go down around the neighborhood a little bit, get some exercise in. If you hear me huffing and puffing, my heart hasn't been doing all that great. I got some new medicine coming, getting some updated medicine that should help. I'm hoping it does. And in the meantime, I'm just doing everything I can do. Doc says it's okay to go walking and doing stuff, so nothing really major could happen anyway. I've got that device in my chest, the ICD, so I try not to worry too much. But for this particular walk, let's see if Meadow kills herself, choking herself. I'm using my iPhone SE. I've become really, really happy with it. I've been using it the most for my camera because my Galaxy Note 4, as good as it is, come on girls, come on. As good as it is, I have found that in actuality, the iPhone SE is way better. Not in visual quality. I still like my Galaxy Note 4, but in stabilization. And as I understand it, the Note 4 does not have any, the iPhone SE does not have any stabilization built in. But even so, it works great. I don't know how they do it, but it's 10 times better than the Note 4, which has software stabilization. It doesn't have physical stabilization built in. And I have to use my gimbal. I have a powered gimbal that I use. But there's just no comparison. I mean, I cannot believe how stable this thing is. They must have, I'm thinking it's built in. There's probably physical stabilization as well as probably software. And they're saying that it doesn't, but it does. Believe me, if you're buying a iPhone SE, and I'll put some comparison footage up. So we'll be walking with the SE, and I've got some footage of the Note 4. And I'll show you what it looks like. Man, it is complete day and night. All right. Still a little cold out here. It's, I think it's about 33 now. At some point, I think I'm going to have to put my hat on. Try to stay warm. Come on, Pix. Come on, little dog. Good girl. Pixie's 12 years old now. She's pretty old. Still a spry dog. Loves taking her walks. Meadow, she's 4 now, I think. She's a Labrador Pit Bull mix. Friendliest dog you ever seen, I swear. She is such a sweetie. Pixie is a Chiweenie. She's Dachshund Chihuahua mix. This is the best part they like. Neighborhood puppies barking. Come on, pal. But we try to do this walk every day, about a half hour. And I figured while I was out here, I would talk about the Linux Journal Awards, Reader Awards, basically a survey where readers, come on guys, of the Linux Journal put in what they think is the best in various categories. But this article that I was reading had 2 categories. The first one was Best Editor, and surprise of surprises, the top 3 editors were Vim, or VI Improved, and Nano, and GNU Emacs. Which one do you think won? If you guessed Vim, you were right. It really didn't surprise me that Vim won, because that's an editor that's available basically in any flavor of Linux, BSD, or Unix. Maybe not necessarily the easiest one to use, but, oh, come on, guys. I gotta pee at every single driveway where there's a dog living. Anyway, Vim's a great editor. I love it. It's taken me a while to get used to it. It is archaic, to say the least. Come on, guys. But I've gotten used to it. It took some time. I have never really used GNU Emacs. I used it a little bit. And Nano is a great editor. It's probably the easiest one to use straight out of the gate. If you like menu-driven interfaces, Nano is definitely the one for you. Just don't expect it to be available on every single system that you use. Now, talking about, according to the Linux Journal Reader Awards, which is the best laptop manufacturer for Linux systems, I'll give you the 3 choices. System 76, Dell, and Lenovo. Which of the 3 do you think is considered top amongst readers of the Linux Journal? If you guess System 76, you are wrong. System 76 actually came in very low. All right, Gadgeteers, I decided to come back inside. It was getting a little bit cold and windy and noisy out, so I figured I would wrap up what we were talking about in here. It'd be a little bit easier to hear me, and I can give you a little bit more details. So here's the bottom line. Looking at the best laptop, looks like the numbers have changed a little bit. Linux Journal keeps its polls live, so changes actually get updated frequently. Now, this one they said that they did through Twitter, so I'm not 100% positive. But looking at the top 3 winners, we have Lenovo at 32%, Dell at 25%, and System 76 at 11%. They are talking specifically about laptops, and I don't really have any experience with Dells with Linux, so I'd be curious to hear what your success has been with any of these systems. But let's look a little deeper. So there's a little bit more information here. Apple's hanging around at what looks to be about 5%. That really doesn't surprise me at all. Asus is getting, looks like between 8 and 10%. Dell, actually pretty decent, and Lenovo, of course, is way up there. I was surprised to see MSI so low, but I have to say this really kind of cements my decision to buy Lenovo instead of MSI. As you know, I was in Best Buy and I was checking out the MSI laptops, and they were really awesome. I thought some of those gamers' laptops were incredibly nice and surprisingly light. However, there haven't been many users running Linux on MSI. When I was talking to the Best Buy rep, he seemed pretty excited about the MSI, and that's the one he wanted to buy. But I, of course, am going to run Linux on it as my primary operating system. So I didn't really want to get an MSI for fear that I would have a hard time getting things going on it. Sony, Purism, System 76 is up there, 10 to 12%. The others, Toshiba, Tuxedo, Xiaomi, Verizon, and everything else is lumped into other. So I would really be curious to hear how things go for you when you install Linux on your systems. Are you using a laptop or a desktop? Now, I did buy the Dell system, the 5675 desktop, and that's worked really quite well. It's got the Ryzen processor in it. The only thing is I am noticing some strange artifacts when I render out my videos using certain filters. So for example, if I use a blur filter and the luminance filter to darken my video both at the same time, and then I render out using 8 cores, I get some artifacting that's completely unacceptable, and I end up having to either remove the filter or render with 1 core, which is not doable. So if you are thinking about getting a Ryzen based system, you might want to consider the Intel. I do mention this because my Yoga 920 is working perfectly fine with all those same filters and the same exact video. So if I take a project that I create in Kdenlive and then I put that same project, same footage on my Yoga 920, everything looks perfect. It renders out with full cores, which gives me, of course, the fastest possible speed. Anyway, I'm not dismissing Ryzen. I'm not saying don't do it. As a very last ditch, I could simply reinstall Linux from scratch on my system, which, thinking of that, my thoughts are taking a portable drive, doing a Linux install, putting Kdenlive on there, and running some of those filters and see what happens. So that'll be a project for the future. It's not really that big of a problem because I can usually find a different filter to do the job, and then I'm back in business. Now check this out. We're talking about best editor. So there are quite a few there. It doesn't surprise me that Vim's #1. We already talked about that on the road. GNU Emacs is second with 19%. Sublime Text I've never used at 10%. Atom at 8% and Nano at 6%. Definitely use both of those. Atom, of course, is a GUI-based editor. Nano is a text-based editor, but it's still menu-driven, so it's actually very nice. If you really want an editor that is simple to use but menu-driven, and if you have to do an emergency edit of a configuration file and you can't get into the GUI, one of the things you could do is use Nano to do the editing. Of course, you'd have to download it beforehand or turn on networking if you're in non-graphical mode so that you could actually do that. Otherwise, you'd have to use VI. You know my opinion. I really think you should get used to VI if you're not used to it. It's just everywhere, and for the very basics, it's very easy to use. As a matter of fact, it's so easy whenever I write or do editing with basically any other word processor or text editor, I invariably punch in the VI commands, and sometimes I miss what I've done. So I'll find a colon floating around or whatever in my text because, of course, I tried to do Shift colon to bring up write and quit, or to try to write the file temporarily. That's my suggestion, is get used to Vim, but in the interim, sure, you can install Nano and use Nano as much as you want to. It's a cool editor, but don't let it stop you from learning the basics of VI. It's really simple and straightforward. Your hands never really have to leave the keyboard when you're using Vim. And I'm talking about if you're a typist, it might not mean anything to you if you're not a typist. So your mileage may vary. You might like Nano, go for it. Yeah, gedit. I've used gedit. I don't know about you guys. Let's see what else we have here. Gainy, never heard of it. gedit, yes. Kate, no. Kwrite, for sure. It's actually one of my favorite GUI editors. It's either Kwrite or Atom is my 2 favorite GUI editors. And then there's everything else. VI, which is now called Vim for VI Improved, is actually 40 years old. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. And you can get it anywhere. Now, they're saying GNU Emacs is Richard Stallman's editor. I don't know if he is the creator of it, to be honest, but I'm going to have a look at it. I want to learn a little bit more about it and see what's good about it and what's not. One time I did, and you know, you get used to a certain workflow like I did with VI, and it's not that GNU Emacs was too steep of a learning curve, but I just felt like I already knew VI. It's on pretty much every system I need. Well, it was on every one with the exception of Windows systems, which is no problem. I either use the old-fashioned text editor, edit.com, which is available in DOS, which I actually use quite a lot, or I just use Notepad, so it worked fine, or Notepad++, which works just as well. But the thing is, like I say, working with VI, it was just something that I was used to, very fast at, and I could expect it to be on every Linux or Unix system, so I stuck with VI. I never really learned GNU Emacs, but I'll take another look at it and see what it's like. And I want to hear what system you are using with Linux, and if you're using Kdenlive, have you had any trouble with the filters using a AMD or Ryzen processor? I am experiencing those few problems with the filters, and I'm wondering, what about you? Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed talking with you. We'll be back again for the next video. Until then, see you next time. This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/FastGadgets.